Now, in 1789, when they meet, this is the beginning of the moderate phase of the revolution, there's a question about how will the voting happen. Now, there's twice as many delegates from the Third Estate as from the First and the Second Estate. So let's say there's 2 delegates from the First Estate and 2 delegates from the Third Estate, from the Second Estate. There's going to be 4 from the Third Estate. Okay? There's numbers. But each one, the ruling is that each one is going to get 1 vote. Members of the Third Estate, which are half of the people there, don't want 1/3 of the votes because they feel that they will consistently be outvoted by the other 2 historically privileged estates. And so therefore, the members of the Third Estate will decide that they will not participate in the States General. Instead, they declare the National Assembly. And they say that they will be a National Assembly. And this happens when a couple of the people from the First Estate join the Third Estate, and therefore they now have a majority. And so a couple of priests join the Third Estate, they now have a majority of all the delegates, and so therefore they say, we're the majority, we are now the National Assembly. Now, the king locks them out of their meeting place, so they go to the tennis court and have a tennis court oath at which they proclaim that they will stay together until they draft a constitution for a new government. And it's at this point that it looks like the king might, attack them, and so he moves troops closer to Versailles, moves troops around Paris. But then we've got the crucial development in Paris, which is a group of people storm the Bastille. So we'll take a quick break. Your tests, yeah. Bad. You missed 1 day of school.
It was for the retreat.
I know, for a retreat. You've been oppressed throughout the whole year. Okay. Send me an email, please. And I will attach to that email a scanned copy of your Scantron. And I'll have that tomorrow or Saturday. Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did my email
What did it say?
about the DBQ, how you're going to deal with
Yes, I did, and I will follow it. Okay, let's Latin. Nico, what does this mean again?
I came, I saw you.
Ah, yes, of course. A great Caesar quote, yeah?
I didn't even know that. That was great.
Great. Okay, so the storming of the Bastille. So this is important because basically there's this large mob of people in Paris. So these are not peasants, but these are, well, it's a combination of sort of bourgeois leaders and, urban poor that storm the Bastille in Paris. Now, why does this happen? There's sort of a fear that the king is going to send his troops into Paris and end the National Assembly. And so people decide that this crowd decides to storm the Bastille, which is a prison and which is also a place where it's an armament location. So it's a place where arms are held. And so they storm the Bastille because they want those arms or weapons. Now, what happens is the Bastille is being protected by royal troops, but those royal troops eventually give in. And actually, the leader of the Bastille, the director or manager, I'm sure he's got a royal title of some sort, he himself is attacked and his head is cut off and it's held, carried around Paris on a stick. So the king has lost control of his military here in Paris because they have given in to the crowd. And so the king feels like he cannot trust his military anymore. In fact, he can't, because the military is not completely on his side. And so the king, therefore, gives in to the National Assembly and allows the National Assembly to be the official meeting, the official legislature. In other words, the king says to the nobles and the clergy that are still in their first and second estates that they now need to meet in with the National Assembly. And so that's important. Now, out in the countryside, there's going to be this great fear. Basically, what we'll see is peasants will be burning down estates. Peasants will be burning the records of the nobles, those records that show the dues that the peasants owe, the records that show the historic rights that the nobles have over these peasants. And so the Great Fear will set off this, it's basically this wave of violence and fear across the countryside. And so the combination of the States General sort of ending and the National Assembly taking over and the Great Fear means many nobles are going to be fearful for what will happen. Okay, now the National Assembly is going to issue a series of decrees. The August decrees will end feudalism, and so the rights of the nobles will be ended in the August decrees. What is it, August 6th decrees, the night of August 6th. Some nobles historically go up and renounce their feudal rights, and feudalism is officially abolished. And the Declaration of the Rights of Man will be established, will be issued, and this Declaration of the Rights of Man will declare the equality of all people under the law. The Declaration of the Rights of Man will grant rights to individuals, the right to free speech, the right to assemble, the right to free press, the right to property. And so property will be one of those rights that's definitely protected in the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Olympe de Gouges, famously, okay, for the record, it's August 4th decrees. August 4th decrees. That's one of those things that I permanently memorized the wrong way. And so I always, it's now permanently in my head. It's August 6th. August 4th decrees. Olympe de Gouges is the woman that responds to the Declaration of the Rights of Man by saying that women should be included as well. And so she writes the Declaration of the Rights of Women and Citizeness. Now note the difference. The Declaration of the Rights of Man is a government document issued by the National Assembly. Okay, it's an official document. The Declaration of the Rights of Women is a statement made by a woman arguing that women should be equal, but it's not government policy. Okay? And most will not agree with what she's saying.